This is the presentation for Magic Circus Belts. The story. The circus came to town, but the performers' belts were lost. Save the show by making belts that fit everyone perfectly. I should like to start this story out by telling the kids, well, I was going to tell you a story, but it's kind of scary, so you probably don't want to hear it. No, it's too scary. You don't want to hear it. No, it's too scary. You don't want to hear it. No, I said it's too scary. You don't want to hear it. Really? Okay, I'll tell it to you then. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there were no TVs. And a long time ago, there were no movies. And a long time ago, there were no video games. That's so scary. I mean, how could kids have any fun when there weren't movies or TVs or video games, huh? I mean, they couldn't have any fun if there weren't movies or TVs or video games, right? They could? What could they do? Oh, that's true. I guess they could play with their friends. What's that? Oh, I guess that's true. They could play baseball. Oh, what's that? Oh, I guess they could read books. So I guess there are some things that kids could do and have fun, even if there weren't any movies or TVs or video games. But one of the other things that they actually could do was they could go to the circus. How many of you guys have been to the circus? Yeah, well, because the circus, instead of being on a TV or a movie or even on video games, the circus would travel around from town to town. And that's how people would go to the circus. The whole town would go to the circus. Well, one time the circus was traveling around from town to town, and they lost the trunk, the suitcase that had all the performers' belts for their costumes, for their pants, to hold their pants up so they could go and do the show. And so everyone was running around looking for material that they could make some belts out of to hold their pants up for their costumes so they could go and do the show. And finally they ran over to the magician's tent and they knocked on the flap of the tent. How they knocked on a flap, I'll never know, but they did. And I answered the flap and I said, yes? And it was the mom and the dad clown. And they said, do you have any material that we can make some belts out of to hold our pants up so we can go and do the show? And I thought for a moment, and I said to myself, yes! And I had a little bit of material here. And we're going to use paper strips. And when you do this trick for your friends and families, you're going to use paper strips as well. And since I had one loop, I said, I'll have to cut this in half for you, since it was the mom and the dad clown both who needed belts. So I started to cut and got back to where I started. And I had two belts, one for the mom clown and one for the dad clown. And they ran off to do the show. And they were very happy. But they came back just a moment later and they said, do you have any more material for the twins? Because the twins need some material to make belts out of to hold their pants up for their costumes to go and do the show. And I thought to myself for a moment and I said, yes! So I had a little more material here. And now the twins, since they're twins, they need two belts as well. But since they're twins and they're always together, they perform together, they ride horseback together, they do acrobatic stunts together. They needed two belts, but their belts needed to be a little bit special. Since they're always together, they need two belts, but they need two belts that are linked together. And the mom and the dad clown were very happy and they ran off to do the show. But they came back just a moment later and they said, do you have any more material that we can make a belt out of for Tiny? Tiny. I thought to myself for a moment, I thought, Tiny. Yes! So, Tiny needs a belt. Now, does anybody know who Tiny was in the circus? Anybody know? Anybody? Tiny? No, he wasn't a little baby. Tiny? No, he wasn't a circus clown. Anybody else have any guess who Tiny was? Tiny was the elephant. Tiny was the elephant. Now, Tiny doesn't need two belts, right? No. What does Tiny need? Tiny needs one giant belt. And so the mom and the dad clown were very happy, and they ran off to do the show, and in fact, everybody was very, very happy. And that is the magic circus.